Welcome to Green Building Matters, the podcast that matters for green building professionals. Learn insight in green buildings as we interview today's experts in LEED and WELL. We'll learn from their career paths, war stories, and all things green, because green building matters. And now our host, and yes, he has every LEED and WELL credential. Here's Charlie Cicchetti.
Be sure to check out the Green Building Matters community, where you can have unlimited exam prep for any of the professional credential exams you're tackling next, as well as putting your continuing education on autopilot, saving time with GBS reporting your hours on your behalf. Check it out, gbes.com/join. Now, enjoy this episode of the Green Building Matters podcast.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the next episode of the Green Building Matters podcast. Can't believe it. We've been doing this for 2.5 years now. We've got quite a bunch of listeners every single week. And today, I've got someone coming to us from Colombia. I've got Diego Felipe Prada, and he's the CEO at Green Factory. Diego, how you doing today?
Great. Thank you, Charlie. Amazing. I'm just humbled to be here and humbled just to be awarded this recognition. And of course, we're just waiting to share a little bit of information with you. Thank you so much for the invitation.
I can't wait to learn more about you, about green buildings in your region. And of course, you've done a lot of LEED work and recently have been awarded LEED Fellow. So I know we're in that club together and can't wait to learn more about you. So the first thing I like to ask my podcast guests, where'd you grow up and where'd you go to school?
Okay, well, I'm a full Colombia product. I went to like a regular, high school and things like that here. Then I studied in Los Andes University, which is one of the best universities in Colombia. For some people, the best. And I studied biology, actually, which is kind of fun. Because for being like telling my story, I began studying civil engineering. But what was supposed to be my dream was like saving the world, So I was like, I'm not going to do that while being a civil engineer. I don't know. I wasn't like so passionate about it. And I wanted to get to know life and get to know animals mostly. So I started biology. Then I did a little bit of research, mostly about that subject of shark finning in Colombia. And when I realized that what I was doing was something that was pretty specific and that like nobody knows what I was doing, like using molecular research and things like that were way too complex for like regular people or actually just to make any effect, then I realized that I wanted to do something that was like more palpable, that you can like really feel it, and research for me wasn't what I wanted to do. So I began with the idea of building a company that could like save the world, and that's why I made Green Factory actually. And since my family used to work on construction and in this industry, then I began to get involved in that and doing sustainable building. And well, here we go, 10 years after.
It is, man, I love entrepreneurship, green buildings. It sounds like so your family was in construction, so you kind of been around buildings as you grew up. Now, what about sustainability in green buildings? I noticed you went back, got another degree. Did it come up in college? Did it come up in industry? How'd you know about green buildings?
Well, the first thing that I just like for real did was just a research about how could we make a more sustainable way of building. And because, as I said, like of course, all my life, the building industry has been part of my life, and I was concerned about the environmental footprint of that activity. So I was like, okay, the first thing that I want to do is just like trying to solve my family's environmental footprint, and then I'll begin to do another thing. So I began researching that, and I came up with LEED, which was at the moment just beginning in Colombia. I mean, we were from the first people actually. When I began, there were no LEED certified projects. So I began to research that and went to Green Build, the Chicago one. And at the moment, moment, I was like really, really amazed by this amazing movement and just got involved so bad in it that I just realized that's what I wanted to do. You know, like, of course, this sustainable building industry is not just one thing. For me, it's really, really complex and full of different things. And yeah, that's exactly what I realized that I wanted to do that.
That was a great field. I was at that one too, originally. And you're right. When you go and you surround yourself with all these green building professionals from all over the world, you're like, wow, okay. So you chose to make a career out of it. Now, it must have been a little scary to start your own business there coming out of university. So was it just there was a need or is it common there? Help me out. I'm in the States. I'm in Atlanta, you know, but you are not the first person I've met from your region, which is like, you know what, let's just go ahead and start a business and let us go ahead and set up shop. So is that common there or it was still a little leap of faith?
Well, at that moment wasn't that common. Actually, people was like, "What are you doing, man?" But now you can see that most of the people, and I think this millennial generation is really into entrepreneurship, of course, and well, they like taking things into our own hands, you know, like really trying to solve things, and I suppose that's making a lot of people have the need to open new things. And I don't know, I see that here we have a lot of things that are not being done, you know, because of course, as you say, in the US, you have everything. I mean, if you want to make a company, then of course you have a lot of different competitors and things like that. Sometimes here you just go to the US, you get inspired by that and come back and there's no one doing what you want to do. So of course, that's what happened at the moment. I didn't even find a company that was doing that. So that's why I began like researching and starting to, how do I make LEED accessible for what we do here in Colombia? And that's been like the topic of these 10 years of work.
It's amazing, man. I love that story. So along the way, did you have any mentors or anyone that kind of opened some doors for you?
Well, of course, you have mentors depending on different subjects. For example, like being a biologist, I didn't know much about construction. So I needed to learn a lot about, you know, the electric design, maybe hydraulic design and things like that. That, of course, I was not supposed to know because what I studied was like, how do you follow monkeys in the jungle? So, of course, it's absolutely different from what any biologist will do here in Colombia, at least. So I have some mentors, of course. One of them is actually my father, of course, which he's a CEO of a construction company. But I also had some commissioning agents that were really like into teaching us things. Of course, in the Colombian Green Building Council, everybody is like really into spreading green building all around, and they were really a big help for us, like while growing up and helping us to do these things. But we did a lot of self research, and that what was good is that I began with a friend, and we actually grew up together, like doing this. Then he went to another industry. He went to renewable energy industry. But I mean, we built what are the basis of what we do in Green Factory.
Well, tell us about your business and tell us about some of the services, some of the cool buildings you worked on. Tell us about Green Factory.
Perfect. Well, so Green Factory has been around, like, as I said, like around more than 10 years. It's a consulting company. We began with LEED certification consulting. And then we began adding more and more services. At the moment, we're doing energy modeling. We're also doing bioclimatic consulting. You know, like here actually in Bogota is one of the most important things that we do because we have a mild climate. So this is really cold actually all around the year, and we don't have any seasons. So we actually we use a lot of natural ventilation. And of course, one of the main things and the main strategies that we have to use is that. And because of that, then we need to have this service in the company. We also have some commissioning agents that work like with us. They're not maybe part of the factory, but we served it. And now we have also the part of the tax incentives that they need some processes and things like that are really specific. So we are like into that. So of course, people can earn some money while doing good.
Yeah, I've heard there's really good tax incentives in your area, more and more LEED projects. So let's talk about that for a minute. What kind of clients in your area are doing LEED versus just let's do energy efficiency? How does that LEED conversation go?
Well, I mean, the industry at the moment is having a little bit of transformation because, I mean, with these incentives, we have a bit of a boom. I mean, everybody is interested in that, of course. But we have a big competitor for LEED that is called the EDGE certification. Don't know if you've heard of it, but it's a certification that is made for developing countries. And it's really good in terms that it's really simple for applying and all of that, but sometimes compared to LEED, you are a little bit short. No, actually, you're really short. So, I mean, it just has 3 chapters that are really, I mean, they're good. They're energy, water, and embodied energy materials, which is, it's a good sustainability analysis, but it's not complex enough. So, of course, when you have the same incentives for doing LEED or EDGE, most of the clients going for EDGE because it's less expensive. So we're having at this moment a little bit of competition, and of course most of the projects that are working on now are EDGE, and now we're just trying to see a little bit of a difference because the clients that want to deal with that want to do really good and innovation and all of that, they go for a LEED. And the clients that just want to go for the incentives and, the basics and all of that, they go for EDGE. So mostly it's residential is going for EDGE. And when you go for LEED, it's going to be more like office buildings. It's going to be, I don't know, any dotational buildings,
Well,
things like that would be.
We don't have as much EDGE in the U.S., but obviously you have a lot more in other countries. So just give us the super high level, what makes EDGE a really good program in the area? I think you said it's less expensive than LEED, but do you still have to do certain energy savings and water savings? And I mean, how would you explain EDGE compared to LEED?
Well, EDGE is pretty simple, which is good actually because it's making green building pretty accessible for everyone. Because you don't need an energy modeling, you don't need to be an expert. Any architect can understand it. So it's good because of that, but it's bad because sometimes you need the wisdom to know how to use it. So you have 3 chapters, as I said. You have energy saving, water savings, and embodied energy. And what you need to do is that you have an application page in the one you try to you start checking different boxes in depending on your energy efficiency measures, for example. So you take a measure, for example, natural ventilation, and you check it, and there's an engine that calculates against a base building how much you're doing. So it's pretty simple. You just check it, and then what you have to do is just document it. So it's I don't know, sometimes it's just a lot of work on documentation, but you don't need a lot of work on starting the building. And because I mean, most of the buildings actually with, I don't know, being energy efficient, will be, I don't know, a good window to work ratio. Then you will go with an energy saving bulbs. Maybe, I don't know, a good efficiency in the water heater and the water boiler. And that's it. You have a sustainable building. So it's quite simple. And of course, I mean, most of the people, they don't have to do actually more from what they were doing before. They're now just certifying it. Yeah. So that's why, I mean, it's good because it's taking a lot of buildings to be green, but it's bad because it's not causing like people to have an integrated process. It's not having like an innovation process. It's quite simple. So of course, I don't know. Sometimes you never know how to do it with
guidelines. It sounds like it's that's one reason we use LEED. Now we might want to use Edge. It's guidelines. It's like, hey, if you're going to do this, here's the right way to do it. And it's going to force project teams, right, to do a little better, make the building less of an impact on the environment. Well, tell us a couple cool projects you've worked on. What's top of mind when you look back on the highlight reel? What are you really proud of? Give us a couple projects. Perfect. Anything else you're proud of?
Well, best project that we have is called Elemento. There are 4 towers here in Bogota that actually achieved LEED Platinum and 89 points.
Amazing.
Yeah, they were really good. And they were like, actually the client was like, do whatever you want to do. I just wanted to be a platinum. And it was like an open letter for sustainability. So it was really good for us because we did and it's a really big building, so they have some budget. That was also a good thing. It's 4 towers of around 160,000 square meters, which is something really good. Will be, I don't know, more than 1.5 million square feet, something like that. So it's really, really big. And so they told us, like, we had a platform in the first floor, and we did a landscaping that actually won the world's green infrastructure award in Latin America. Because what we did is that we inspired with the actual or the real ecosystem of the area, and we did some wetlands on that place. So it was really good. I mean, we actually had some species that were endangered, in extinction problems, So this was really a big project, and it's a project that is completely naturally ventilated. We have some photovoltaics, of course. We have rainwater and grey water recycling. So we're saving around 70% of the water and more than 55% of the energy. So it's a project that is really, really based in the location that we have. It's really efficient. So it's really good. And we also have the Movistar Arena that is like a big arena in the one they're making concerts and things like that. And it's the first arena certified in Colombia, and one of the first in Latin America. It was really good. It's something that is saving around 80% of water because it's reusing rainwater from a big ceiling that it has. It's fully naturally ventilated as well. Having 14,000 people in the same space with a naturally ventilated system, it's really nice. So, I mean, those are a couple of projects that seem really good for us.
Amazing projects. Well, I mean, you've really had this entrepreneurial journeys, great projects. You've done a lot in your region. Anything else you're proud of when you look back?
Well, one of the things that we did is that we became a B-Corp, a B corporation, and we have been selected from 2016 as one of the best companies for the world, not of the world, but for the world. That is actually our biggest achievement for us, like talking about, saving kilowatts of energy and then saving liters of water. Things like that are actually what really moves us, and our philosophy inside of our company is actually being really consistent with being sustainable in our way of living. So I would say that's our biggest achievement, by far. I mean, of course, being a LEED fellow and having all of these projects is really, really something that motivates us. For our biggest achievement is really having a big environmental positive impact.
Wow. I applaud that, man. That's really, thank you for sharing that. All right. Well, I'd love to ask this question. What's around the corner? And those that are listening to this podcast, what should we be reading up on? What are you tracking?
Well, for us at the moment, we don't have any projects that go into the net zero and net positive, of course. So we're trying to do that. We're getting closer to that. We have some projects that are using less and less energy every time. So it's something that we want to keep working on. But our biggest goal is to make all of these edge buildings that I was telling you about, all of these social housing, for example, buildings, more sustainable. We wanted to have, of course, like energy saving, water savings, and embodied energy, but we wanted to have even more things. And of course, it's our biggest goal, but our most difficult one, because you don't have budget, so you need to be really creative. But in Colombia, we're going to need to build a lot of new houses in the next year. So it's expected to need a little more, at least more than 2 million. And it's going to be a big goal to achieve a really sustainable social housing, so we can have like environmental good impact, but we're going to have now social good impact. So that's what we hope for.
That's a lot of people moving in, and a growing population. We're recording this still in the middle of the pandemic. Have you seen a push towards healthy buildings? And is it bringing in fresh air? I mean, you've got a milder climate there, so you have a lot of natural ventilation. So naturally, I think that's, of course, better, right? But, what have you done with healthy buildings, fit well, or maybe just some more healthy building best practices?
You're absolutely right. Actually, in Colombia, one of the things that we have to struggle more with when we're like selling LEED certification is the need for a good ventilating system. And even if we have natural ventilation, people is not used to having a ventilation study. Because what we're used to do is that we have everything closed because everything is so cold that we just put on a jacket and that's it. So you go, most of the places are not naturally ventilated or even ventilated nor mechanically, anything. So what we're doing now is that we're having people really interested in this kind of subjects because they realize that is something that is important. So this pandemic has been a push towards understanding the importance of these really big subjects that we have in LEED certification. And of course, now some buildings are starting to wonder how they can go back to work and how they can go back to operate, for example, the Movistar Arena without compromising people's health. So that's a big goal and now it's like a main objective that we have to keep on studying and keep on applying these good practices on any building.
Very important. Very important. I'm glad you're pushing it. Sometimes clients will push back, right? But you got to keep showing them why it's important. Let's go through a few more kind of quick questions about you, Diego. What's your specialty or gift? What are you really good at?
Well, I'm really good in convincing people to do good, actually. I would say that's my biggest achievement in what I actually do every day. Because, technically, there's a lot of people that can do even a better job than I do. But what I actually do is trying to show people the importance and the rewards of being sustainable. And of course, that's what I will say that is my goal in life. So that's why I became so obsessed with being good at it and studying psychology of people and understanding the way to sell them sustainability. And I would say that's actually my biggest talent, if you ask me.
It's a humbling question, but it's good to know and have self-awareness. And I think that's great. So, do you have any really good habits or routines that help you stay on point?
Well, I'm a sports addict. So I would say that, of course, you need to take a lot of pressure off you. And once you have something to put your head on instead of just your work, it's going to be really good for me. And for me, I do a lot of sports. I play tennis. I also do triathlons, I do trail running, like doing it running in the mountains and things like that. But I also do a lot of mindfulness and meditation. I'm also a lot of into Buddhism and all of that, which is something that really helps me like to be more centered and to deal with everyday things.
There's a lot that life and the world and business throw at us. It sounds like you're really well balanced. Triathlons, actually, I've done several sprints and an Olympic. But you're probably going to tell me you're an Ironman or something like that. So what distance do you like?
Actually, the half Ironman. will be my the half Ironman is
maybe one day.
That's my preference.
Olympic was tough, but man, that's amazing.
You're close.
I'll get there. A little bit about bucket list. Is there anywhere you'd love to travel or adventure, or what's on the bucket list? What are one or two things, Diego?
Well, as I said, one of the things that I'm missing a bit from being a biologist is going to nature and living with nature. So one of the things in my bucket list is, for example, I want to swim with a white shark. Seems very crazy. Yeah, but it's something that I want to do ever since I was a little boy. I have always been obsessed with sharks, so it's something I want to do. Yes, and I don't know. I mean, just maybe seeing gorillas as well. Something that I want to do, going to Africa and doing a safari and things like that. There's something that really pushes me. Like I need to go there and be back again with nature. Yes. I mean, I do. Most of the things that I do them because I'm so in love with animals that I don't want them to keep suffering because of our human activity. So yeah.
Biology, you're right. Well, your buildings are helping the environment, but it sounds like you've got some cool bucket list items to get back there, and I love it. And it ties back again to those early studies and that early work and research you mentioned. And so I can't wait, man. That'd be great. So is there a book or two you'd recommend? It doesn't even have to be about green buildings. Just, if there's a book you'd recommend, that'd be great. Or just tell us how you kind of consume information. Do you listen to podcasts? Do you listen to audiobooks? Do you like to hold a book? How do you like to learn?
Well, most of my life I've been studying, but like doing books. But now I'm doing a lot of audible and audiobooks and things like that. Yeah, it's good. I mean, if you're in traffic or maybe you're like running and things like that, it's good for you. Like I don't know. You can do both things at the same time. But if you want me to call a book, I will do the Upcycling, for example, from William McDonough. This is something that is really, life-changing. I really like that. And maybe Drawdown. I don't know if you've seen that. Drawdown, that is,
Top 100 ways to reverse climate change, right? So
exactly.
You called them out, Paul Hawken and William McDonough. So for our listeners, if you're new into this movement, those are two authors, speakers, influencers you got to read up on. So Diego, we're going to put links to those books you called out in the podcast show notes. Two questions as we start to wind down. One is, looking at your career, is there anything you wish you'd have known earlier in your career or even as a business owner?
Yes. Well, many things, of course. I mean, you make a lot of mistakes, but maybe the one that is more important is that just sometimes you need to jump into the void. I mean, you need to jump and take risks. And, I mean, for me, sometimes I was a bit scared and it blocked me from doing things that I could do and I wanted to do. But sometimes you just have to go for it, and then you learn, I don't know, how to create your wings on the way down. And so I would say that, if I could have done something better, was just taking off all of these fears and go with that.
Oh, that's a great visual. Just how you get your wings as you're going down, but take the leap. And let's say there's someone listening right now. You've been doing green buildings a while. I've been doing green buildings a while, but they're like, you know what? This sustainability movement, this green building movement, I want to work in that. So if someone's listening right now, do you have any words of encouragement for them if they're jumping in?
Yes, I would say, now it's the time. Actually, there's no better time than just doing it at the moment you can and you want, but now is the time. We're going to need to change a lot of things in this industry, in the world. Maybe since now that things are becoming a little bit more conscious about the environment every time, then this is the moment just to do your effort, and just anything that you can do from your perspective is gonna do good, and it's gonna help the system do good. And that's what we need. If we all support the system, then we're going to change it. And maybe we can actually do what we need, which is like keeping our species on the earth and, surviving, because otherwise, if we take more time to it, maybe it's going to be too late for us. So it's the moment to do it. Just, again, go and take the jump.
Wow, what a great conversation, man. We covered a lot. You've got a lot of energy. You're doing great things there on all your projects. I love to hear your journey in green buildings. And just to everybody, just make sure you connect here with Diego on LinkedIn. And just thank you for your time today. I've learned a lot about you, from triathlons and trail running to obviously your connection back to nature, but a lot of green buildings, and the fact that you're a B-Corp there at your business. That surely was a highlight. So Diego, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. It was really interesting.
I just want to say thank you to our loyal listeners. We actually are celebrating over 1 year here on the Green Building Matters podcast. Me and the entire team were stoked and just so glad you continue to listen every Wednesday morning to a new interview with a green building professional here in this industry, or just some pro tips that we want to make sure that you are getting straight from us, straight to you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Green Building Matters podcast. At gbes.com, our mission is to advance the green building movement through best-in-class education and encouragement. Remember, you can go to gbes.com/podcast for any notes and links that we mentioned in today's episode. And you can actually see the other episodes that have already been recorded with our amazing guests. Please tell your friends about this podcast. Tell your colleagues. And if you really enjoyed it, leave a positive review on iTunes. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on next week's episode.